Companies need to be concerned because really the administration hasn't demonstrated a consistent, thought-through strategy. I think the players here and their interests have been pretty clear, so that China would not be on the U.S.'s side without any doubt. That was clear from the beginning. But I think U.S. CEOs have been clear, it has been clear to them that Trump would be very unpredictable. It was clear earlier this year, even in Davos, CEOs were very concerned.
Lee, your group has a long history of trade between China and Iowa. So what direct impact have you seen thus far from the way that the Trump administration is trying to handle the North Korea threat?
Well, ever since the Trump administration, took office, when we talked to our clients over in China, there has been a little bit of a roller coaster ride. At first people were really concerned, for possible trade war, and then after the Mar-a-Lago summit, things are looking very bright. And with the 100-day plan, a lot of our clients genuinely are relieved, and they are all talking about the possible trade war seems very unlikely. Understand there has been new development this week, but the sense is that when we talk to our clients in China, they felt like the Trump administration is setting the stage, and they're wanting to enter into a new rounds of negotiation. Maybe things are not progressing as fast as he would like. So they're patiently waiting and then hoping that two sides will sit down again and talk among themselves and figure out what's the best solution for both sides.
Sandra, we were talking Monday, even as the U.S. is looking to China for help on the North Korea situation. On the other hand, we have sanctioned one of their banks. There's been what the Chinese consider to be an encroachment into the South China Sea by U.S. vessels. What do you think President Xi is going to be telling President Trump when they get to Hamburg this week? I mean, what's that discussion going to be like, do you think?
Well, one thing is for sure, if Trump goes beyond the bluster and actually institutes concrete measures, the Chinese will retaliate. And I would like to draw your attention to the fact that Steve Bannon, when he was still at Breitbart last year, had said that the likelihood of a war of the U.S. involvement in a war in the Chinese South China Sea was very likely. So the fact that there would be, possible escalation, that has been on the table. I think the greatest concerns is for companies, U.S. companies, who actually produce and sell within China. Retaliatory measures could be more subtle, or they could be more drastic, like price dumping and flooding the markets with goods, or just restricting market assets. So I think that it would be in the U.S.'s interest to dial back the rhetoric and try to be a little more diplomatic. It doesn't help to antagonize such a big player as China, because the interests of China and the U.S. are just not aligned in this respect when it comes to North Korea.
Well, Lee, Bill made a good point just a moment ago as well about the UN, which is the avenue for it's not just America's responsibility. It's just that we are their biggest target, if you will, and we are the ones seen as maybe doing something about it, especially with regard to China. So if the U.S. moves forward and we act alone, does that mean there could be a risk that U.S. companies lose business in China to, say, European rivals or Mexican ones, or you name it?
Yes, absolutely. I think we can already see that U.S. CEOs are more reluctant to take risks, to make investments. They take a more of a wait and see approach. And European companies, amongst them German companies, are all too happy to move into this vacuum and take over market share. They have their own concerns. For instance, the taking over of know-how. Say German companies are very strong in engineering. For instance, they just sold a huge robotics company there. And when German companies go to China, typically what China tries to do, I mean, they don't say we want to steal your secrets, but they say if we give you the land, we give you the options, but you have to disclose your trade secrets.
Lee, what do you trade with China? And the reason I ask, are you likely to see tariffs imposed at some point, and what do you think that would do to the trade relationship?
We primarily trade in agricultural products, from agricultural seed to equipment. We Well, at this point, it's really hard to tell. Earlier on, several months ago, everybody was talking about that possible trade war. We did entertain the idea if that happened, we might see retaliated tariff being imposed on some of the goods that we're exporting to China. Having said that, and giving all this tension that's been going on right now, our governor actually is taking a all agriculture trade delegation to China just in about 2 weeks from now. And I think as President Xi once pointed out, the U.S.-China relationship is kind of like a large vessel sailing on the ocean. And there are storms from time to time that might impact how smooth the ride is. But at the end of the day, economic ties and collaborations and agricultural trade, among many other products, in terms of our trading relationship, is really the ballast stone for this ship to make sure that it will go forward and go through the right direction. And I think we're in the perfect example right now, given all this situation. And I absolutely agree that there's just too much on the stake that we really need two sides to come together and have a very constructive conversation to tackle all the issues.